You ever have that feeling when something's just off? Like, you know it's nothing paranormal or anything, but your gut is just telling you, hey man, something's not right here. That's exactly what happened to me and my girlfriend Rachel when we went to the movies one Friday night. It was supposed to be a simple date night, nothing crazy. But looking back on it, I wish we just stayed home and watched Netflix. Rachel and I have been together for 3 years. We're your typical couple. Work all week, and then on weekends, we try to do something fun. This one particular Friday, we both wanted to catch this new thriller that had just come out. I can't remember the name of it now, but it doesn't matter because the movie was the least memorable part of that night. We decided to go to this small theater downtown. It's one of those older places that still has that retro vibe, you know? Sticky floors, the old school popcorn machine that you swear hasn't been cleaned since the 90s, and these creaky red velvet seats. I actually like places like that. It's got character. Plus, it's never crowded, so you don't have to deal with all the annoying people talking during the movie or checking their phones every 2 seconds. We grabbed some popcorn and drinks, found our seats, and settled in. The theater was pretty empty, maybe 10 other people scattered around the room. It was dark, and you could hear the occasional cough or rustling of candy wrappers, but otherwise, it was quiet. Perfect for getting lost in a thriller, right? Or so I thought. The movie started, and everything was normal at first. Rachel was snuggled up next to me, and I was half focused on the screen and half zoning out like I usually do at the beginning of movies. But about halfway through, I noticed something. You know when you get that sensation that someone's watching you? I felt that, but I shrugged it off. I mean, of course, someone was watching me. There were other people in the theater. But it wasn't that simple. This was different. You can usually feel when someone's just looking at you by chance, but this felt more deliberate, like someone was staring right through me. I shifted in my seat, trying to shake the feeling, but it just wouldn't go away. I glanced around the room, casually, not wanting to seem paranoid. The people in the theater were all glued to the screen, except for one guy sitting a few rows behind us, to the left. He wasn't watching the movie at all. He was watching me. I quickly looked away, not wanting to make eye contact. I told myself maybe he just glanced at me, and I was overreacting. But the feeling wouldn't leave me. You know that primal instinct, the one that tells you when something's wrong, that was kicking into overdrive. Rachel must have noticed me squirming because she whispered, "You okay?" "Yeah," I whispered back, trying to sound normal. "Just thought I saw something." She gave me a weird look, but went back to watching the movie. I tried to do the same, but I couldn't concentrate. I was too aware of this guy behind us. I kept sneaking glances, and every time I looked, he was still staring. Not blinking. Just staring. I'll admit I was getting freaked out, but I didn't want to look like a wimp in front of Rachel, so I kept quiet. The guy wasn't doing anything wrong, technically, but you know when you can just feel that someone's not quite right? This was one of those times. The movie finally ended, and the credits started rolling. Rachel stretched and yawned, totally oblivious to the weirdness that had been going on behind us. I figured the guy would leave like everyone else, so I waited for him to get up and walk out, but he didn't move. He just sat there, still staring. Now, I was officially on edge. I nudged Rachel and whispered, "Hey, let's wait a minute." "Why?" she asked, confused. I didn't want to sound paranoid, so I just said, "I don't know, I just don't feel like walking out with everyone else." She looked at me like I was being ridiculous, but she shrugged and said, "Okay, whatever." So, we sat there, watching the credits roll, while most of the people filed out of the theater. But this guy, he didn't move. He was still in the same spot, eyes locked on me. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned around fully. hoping that maybe if he saw me noticing him, he'd stop. But when I did, his expression, I can't even describe it. He wasn't just staring at me, he was smiling. Not a friendly smile. It was this weird, unsettling grin, like he knew something I didn't. "Dude, what the hell?" I muttered under my breath. Rachel looked at me again, concerned. "What's going on?" "That guy behind us. He's been staring at me the whole time." Rachel turned around quickly to look, but when she did, the guy was gone. Just like that. 1 second he was there, and the next, gone. I don't know how he moved that fast without us hearing, but he was nowhere in sight. Rachel laughed and said, "You're being paranoid. There's no one there." But I knew what I saw, and the fact that he disappeared like that only made things worse. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Let's just go," I said, standing up and grabbing her hand. She looked confused, but followed me as we made our way out of the theater. I was checking over my shoulder every few seconds, convinced that guy was going to be right behind us, but he wasn't. The theater was almost empty by the time we got to the lobby. We walked out into the cool night air, and I felt a little better once we were outside. "See?" Rachel said, squeezing my hand. "You were freaking out over nothing." I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. We walked to the parking lot, which was almost deserted except for a few cars. As we approached my car, I stopped dead in my tracks. He was there. The guy from the theater, he was standing next to our car, just waiting. That same creepy smile on his face. "Do you know him?" Rachel asked, her voice shaky now. "No, I don't." We stood there, frozen for what felt like an eternity. I didn't know what to do. My mind was racing. Should we turn around and go back to the theater? Should I confront him? My heart was pounding in my chest. Before I could make a decision, the guy turned and started walking toward us. Not running, not even walking fast. Just slowly, methodically, like he had all the time in the world. I felt Rachel grip my arm tighter. "Let's go," I said, pulling her with me as we backed away from the car. We started walking quickly, almost jogging, toward the exit of the parking lot. I glanced over my shoulder, and he was still following us. That same slow, deliberate pace. It was like something out of a nightmare. No matter how fast we moved, he didn't seem to care. He knew he'd catch up eventually. We reached the main road, and I spotted a gas station about a block away. I grabbed Rachel's hand and said, "Come on, we'll go there." We sprinted the rest of the way, not looking back until we were inside the gas station, breathless and terrified. The guy didn't follow us in. We stood there, catching our breath, and I looked out the window, half expecting to see him standing there. But he wasn't. He was gone again, just like in the theater. Rachel was shaken now. "What the hell is going on?" "I don't know, but we're not going back to the car. Let's call an Uber." I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, and ordered a ride. We waited in the gas station for what felt like forever, but it was only about 10 minutes. The whole time, I kept glancing out the window, expecting to see that guy again, but he never showed. The Uber finally arrived, and we got in. I kept checking the rearview mirror the whole ride home, half expecting to see him following us. But we made it back to Rachel's apartment without any more incidents. We didn't talk much after that. Rachel was freaked out, and so was I. We stayed up all night, checking the windows and doors, making sure everything was locked. I didn't sleep at all. I kept expecting to hear a knock at the door, or worse, to see that guy's face peeking in through the window. The weirdest part? I never saw him again. I don't know who he was, or why he was following us, but he disappeared after that night. No creepy notes, no strange sightings, nothing. But even now, every time I go to the movies, I can't help but look over my shoulder, just in case.